Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. So there is a correct way to learn Jiu-Jitsu in my view. And that is to learn to have a good curriculum, which I believe we do, and to learn it in order, right, which we do teach it that way, especially online because it's structured that way. For those of you who aren't familiar with our online curriculum or online material, we have our white to blue, blue to purple, and we're developing blue to brown. We just haven't filmed it all yet. And then we have what are called class notes. So let's go white to blue first. So white to blue curriculum, it's in 6 modules, and in each module there are 2 parts. There are the self-defense concepts for that module, and then we have the ladder portion of the workout. So in module 1, white to blue, for the self-defense, you're looking at, I want to say base, headlock escapes, and then for the ground portion, that's our red ladder, we go into the mount class escapes. So that would be escaping mount, you know, the UPA and the hip escape, escaping side mount, which is some guys call technical mount, escaping seatbelt, and escaping worst position. But you know, there are a lot of techniques. So how do we do this? Well, the way I would say is this. Module 1 means it's the first module you go through. Don't jump over to module 6, go to module 1 and work through module 1. So the first concept, let's just do the groundwork since that's what everybody likes to do. First concept will be getting out of worst position. Worst position is where you're belly down, opponent's got hooks in, and you know, he often has a choke around you, has a rear naked choke wrapped around your neck. So go over that concept on how to get out of that and drill it. You know, I always say 10 times to the left, 10 times to the right. So have your opponent put his right arm around your neck, rear naked choke style, and work to get out of it. Do it correctly. Make sure you watch the video, see how it's done, do it just like that. And then he puts his left arm around your neck, you do the same thing. And then, you know, work on it with your partner as well. And the next thing might be your seatbelt escape. So you're going to do seatbelt escape. We have correct side and wrong side, you know, the way you turn. So do the correct side first, learn how to do that. Do it 10 times on the left side, 10 times on the right side. And let's say that's your day, right? You did worst position and you did seatbelt. Now, when you come in the next day, you know, let's say that was Monday. So on Tuesday, you and your partner get together again. You're going to make sure you remembered what you did the prior day. Worst position left, worst position right. And this time I say do it 5 left and 5 right. And then go back to your seatbelt escape, correct side, and you're going to do 5 left and 5 right. And once you do that, then you should have some sort of familiarity with it. Now, you learned it, but I can't say you know it yet. Now, you may know them, and that's a very important distinction to have, learning versus knowing. But let's say you're still learning it, you have a little bit deeper knowledge of it today than you did yesterday. Now what you can do is you can continue on to add a third technique. In this case today, you know, because since you already had some time doing your worst position escapes, 5 left, 5 right, and your seatbelt escape 5 left, 5 right, you're going to do now the seatbelt escape but the wrong side. And you're going to do that 10 left and 10 right. Now that one is a tricky one. It's not an easy one to do, and you're going to have to work on it, right? And what you're going to do with your partner is after you do that 10 left, 10 right, I want you to go back to the 2 that you did earlier, and I want you to do it with pressure, right? So what's going to happen now, you're going to do it 5 left, 5 right with pressure. So you're going to do worst position, and when I say with pressure, I mean you put that choke in and squeeze, and that's when your mind goes, oh shit. And you start to try to escape, and you feel the light starting to come in, and you go, oh, and you tap, okay? So if you tap, then what happens is your partner might have been squeezing a little too hard, or you just need to try again. And do it several times. You know, in a class, when we're doing worst position escapes, you know, when we teach that in the class, you know, by the end of the night, each of my students probably did it 80 to 100 times. With maybe the last 50 of it with pressure, with increasing pressure and with different partners. Now, if you can do it with different partners, it's better because people have different arm lengths, different strengths, they squeeze differently, and that will give you more of a breadth of possibilities when trying to get out. right? So that's how you do it. So every day, add just one concept to what you're going to learn, but go back over the previous day's stuff and review. Now let's say on day 3, you're at day 1, you did worst position and seatbelt correct side. So you did 10 left, 10 right. Day 2, you did 5 left, 5 right, and you went back and did it with pressure after you did the third concept. So now here we are on day 3. You're going to go 5 left, 5 right in the worst position, but with pressure from the start. And 5 left, 5 right on the seatbelt with pressure from the start. And then you're going to go back to your seatbelt wrong side. You're going to do 5 left, 5 right. Remember, you did 10 left, 10 right, 10 left, 10 right yesterday. And then what you're going to do now is your partner is going to then take you to the next step, which in this case, let's call it mount escape. We've got UPA and we've got hip. So you're going to go over the UPA escapes and go through the motions. And then once you go through the motions, do it 10 left, 10 right. You're going to go back to seatbelt wrong side, and you're going to do with pressure. Meaning he's going to set that choke in there, and he's not going to try to let you out. You're going to try your hardest to get out. If you don't get out, tap, do it again, and tell your partner, lighten up a tiny bit in the pressure, let me try again. So this is going to be how you learn. You know, it may sound kind of repetitious, kind of boring perhaps even, but too bad, right? You want to get good at this stuff, you're going to have to do it dozens of times, which is why the circular method of learning doesn't work as well, because you're not going to get dozens of reps in a day or 2 or 3 days. You're not going to get exposure to the concept in a series like this. Now, you know, there are other ways that people will teach, and what they'll do is they'll do a 12-week cycle, for instance, where this week we're going to do mount escapes, and we'll do every way we can possibly do it. So now, that's not a bad way to do it. But you need to make sure that you're learning things in order. Now here's the thing. What if you're doing white belt and mount escape concepts, but you have a class full of blue and purple belts that presumably went through it in this fashion, right? Then it's going to be old hat to them. You know, by the time you're a blue belt and you're doing worst position day, you've probably gone through it 1,000 times by then, right? So it may not be as productive in a class to do that, but it is kind of what it is, and that's why you have fundamentals classes where you have more beginner people that are doing it. But you know, that's just another story. Now, in answer to your next question, what do you do when your school doesn't do it this way, right? And the school that you go to doesn't do it the way we do it here at KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu, and they start showing you other stuff. Here's what I tell my students that are in your situation, okay? If you're working on worst position, seatbelt correct side, seatbelt wrong side, and mount UPA, and the school that you go to normally, in the class part where he's teaching, he's going over S-mount arm bars, you know, execution from the top. Go through the motions, but don't really try hard to internalize what you're being taught in class. The reason is because you'll get there eventually. That's module 6 for us. But by doing that, by internalizing it, then what you do is you put focus on it. When you put focus on it, something that you're not quite ready for, you're taking focus off something that you are ready for, that you're trying to work on, right? It's all about focus. So what I say is, you know, the old analogy is let it go in one ear and out the other ear. Meaning, listen to him, say, okay, 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 but don't keep it in you. Instead, let it out on the other side. And then go back to what you're working on. So, you know, let's say, you know, most schools, they do a long amount of rolling, right? They'll do quick warm up and stretch, teach you some concepts, and then at least 30 minutes or so of rolling. You're going to need to be purposeful about your rolling. You're not just going to roll and try to submit people. In this case, you're going to let people dominate you. You're going to let them take your back. You're going to let them mount you. You're going to let them put you in worst position, and you're going to make yourself escape. Oh, spiderweb. That's what happens when you're walking around in nature, huh? So that way, you can focus on what you're doing. Now, let's say your instructor yells at you, hey, Ryan, why do you keep letting him have your back? Just say, I don't know, sir. My opponent's just really good. And I don't know. You know, he's just taking my back. But you'll be escaping, right? And your opponent won't be none the wiser, because he doesn't know what you're doing, right? And don't tell him what you're doing, because then it'll be, well, you know, I'm only helping you, I'm not helping me, right? The opponent's going to be thinking that. So let them have position on you. You know, if you end up in guard, you know, make like a really easy guard from the pass. Let him pass. Let him get the cross side. Let him get the mount. And then once he gets the mount, you're like, oh, okay, let me work on the UPA. You know, try like how to get the UPA done. If he ends up taking you to, you know, taking your back, then go, okay, I'm going to work on my seatbelt escape. Right? You need to come into class with a purpose. So I'll give you an example. When I was a brown belt, I would come into class, and we had a lot of purple belts, a lot of blue belts in class. And when we'd be sparring, which we do for maybe the last 10, 15 minutes of class, this is back at the Dave's Laguna Niguel campus, if I'm working on cross-side escapes, which is some people call side control, I'm working on a side control escapes, I'll let the purple belts have side control on me. I'll let them set it up, and then once they set it up, I'd go, in my mind, I'd go, okay, ready, go. You know, as we said in the last video, right? I go 1, 2, 3, go, and I start my escape. And if I get out, great. Then for that particular person, I know I can get out of cross-side for him. What I do sometimes is I'd make him go to the left side, right? I wouldn't let him pass guard to the right side. The only thing I'd do is I'd leave it open on the left side. He'd pass me left side, cross-side the other side, and I'd let him get it all set up, and I'd go 1, 2, 3, go, and I'd escape, or I'd try to, right? If I can't escape, then I'm gonna keep working till I escape. If I do escape, then for him, I'll let that go. And in my mind, I'll be thinking while I'm training, what else do I need to work on today? All right, seatbelt escapes with the full choke in. So then what I'll do is I'll end up giving him my back. You know, doesn't think I am, doesn't know I am, but and he's thinking, oh, I got his back, right? So he takes my back, and then you know, I make some kind of noise like, oh shit, right? And then I'll let him set that hand in, set the choke in, and I go, oh crap, and then I'll go, okay, what side are we on? Wrong side. Okay, I'll work my wrong side escape. Right? Or if we're on the right side, I'll go right side, okay, let me do the right side escape. And once I get out, then I know with this particular person, I can get out, right? And I go on to the next person, and I start all over again, cross side, until I know that I can get out of everybody's cross side on the left, everybody's cross side on the right, everybody's seatbelt on the left, on the right, wrong side, right side, any kind of variation on it. So that, as you may kind of surmise here, that takes a while. You're not just going to do that in a week. You know, this might happen over the course of a couple of months, where I'm just letting everybody have every single version of a thing that I'm working on. You know, and that's just defense. You know, there are times when I'm only working offense, where all I want to do is I just want to left arm bar everybody. I want a left arm bar from the guard. I want a left arm bar from the side mount, left arm bar from the mount, right? I want to get their left arm from the right side cross side, right? We call that a far side arm bar. I want to do it from the near side, right? So that could be all I'm working on for 2 months. And that's what I'll do. So what will happen is, let's say now I'm back to you, you're online, and let's say you are working on arm bars from the guard. You're in module 4. All you're going to do now is you can pull everybody into guard, and you can just go for that arm bar. You're going to think of how to set up and do it without a setup, or just kind of slam it on, or set up with a choke, arm bar. Set up with a sweep, arm bar, right? Do it on the left, do it on the right. Set it up from a hip bump, arm bar, right? Triangle, arm bar, right? But you're just going to work on it, and you're going to do that per person, because everyone's different. It's not going to be, oh, I worked on it with John today and I got it all with him, so tomorrow I'm just going to work on something else. No, you know, next day you're going to work on it, work on it with Brett, right? You're going to work on arm barring him. With John, you got him covered, so you're going to work on something else. So that was kind of a long explanation. So I hope that gave you an idea on how to use the online curriculum and your learning through the KAMA methodology, and using it in tandem with the location that you're training at. Now, would I let my instructor know I'm doing that? If my instructor was the one who turned me on to KAMAJujitsu.com, then yes, I'd let him know, because he's probably bought in to the concepts as well. But if not, then I wouldn't. And you know, believe it or not, I do actually have a student who would do that. He would actually fly in, and he'd train with me privately for a week at a time. And then he'd go back to the online and he'd brush up on what he had just gone over with me. And then he'd go into his school and he'd do exactly as I told you, exactly the same way. It even got to a point where, believe it or not, his instructor was ridiculing him. His instructor was telling him, man, how come you don't know how to get out of this? And so this student called me and asked me about it, and I said, is what you're doing based on what I taught you, is it working? And he says, yeah. I said, okay, well, keep going with it then. He goes, yeah, but my instructor is chewing me out and stuff. And I said, but it's working. He says, yeah. So I said, then just say, oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm really trying, you know, but I just seem to know how to get out this way and I don't know where I figured it out. But yes, I will try. Because, you know, you have to, you know, pay your instructor the respect that he's due. So what happened was he just played the dummy. Got ridiculed over and over and over, but as we went through the modules, by the time he had gone through, I had gone through module 4 with him, he was already, he was doing really well, to the point where he was a small school, and there were 2 purple belts there. One of the purple belts was complaining about him. So the instructor finally just gave him a blue belt. Because, you know, a lot of schools, they'll go based on how good you are. You know, if you're a white belt and you're beating all the blue belts, then oftentimes that means you're a blue belt. So, you know, that's kind of like the old style way that we used to do it. You know, if you're, you know, one of the old Gracie Academy members, the old Machado School members, you know, that's kind of how they did it. They don't necessarily care about the depth of curriculum, your knowledge there. It was more about your execution, right? And if you could get everybody in triangles from the guard as well as armbar, you triangle armbar combo, and you get on everybody, and you'd be tapping purple belts with it, and you're a white belt, almost guaranteed you'd be wearing a blue belt by tomorrow. So that's kind of what happened to him. He hadn't even gone through the modules 5 and 6, which are offensive modules. He only went through the first offensive module, which is module 4, which is attacks from guard. And he got really good at it, because what he would do is we'd do it for an entire week. He'd do it with me here, train. He'd go back home, he'd look at the online, he'd go to his class in his hometown, and he'd just work on it. Give the position away, let people have whatever they want, and keep working. And he got really good at it that way. And I told him, I said, you know what, if you humor me and do it as I say, just until each time you come and see me, I guarantee you will be better. And sure enough, you know, he had the patience. It didn't take him long. You know, I'd see him probably once a quarter. So he had 3 months to work on a particular module that I was working on with him. But he did start to see the progress, because after a while, people that were, you know, just maybe a level higher than him were not able to hold him, you know, under mount, which is module 1. They weren't able to hold him under seatbelt, still module 1. Side mount, module 1. Right? And they weren't able to hold him under cross-side, right? We call it cross-side 3, which is the one most people do. He'd get out of it every time. Knee and belly, get out of that all the time. Right? North-south, get out. Right? KAATARO, modified KAATARO, get out of all that. That's module 2. Module 3, you know, came down passing guard. You know, he was able to be safe in guard, so didn't get caught and was able to pass. Now, it's not saying this was the case with everybody he went up against with, but the people that were at his level or 1 belt up. Right? I told him, you know, if you get caught by purple belts, don't feel bad. You know, you get caught by your black belt instructor, don't feel bad. You know, it is what it is. You know, you're not at that level yet. Right? You need to kind of take things one step at a time. So he was able to conquer that. And, you know, and he's not the first one that I've done that with. You know, back when I was in California, you know, I had students that trained at other schools as well. And they take weekly privates with me. I teach them something and I say, okay, now work on this for the next week until I see you again. And they would. And there is success to that model. So yes, use the online. This is a very long video. I apologize for that, but this is how I need to kind of let you know how to do it. Use our online for the curriculum, for the methodology. But go to the school that you train at, the local one to you, and if you're determined to learn what we're teaching, this is how you need to do it. If you don't focus, you'll have a mishmash, and I know what that's like. And that really just comes down to you being confused. Like you don't know what to do because there's 10 different ways to do an arm bar, and you don't know which one to use, right? Realistically speaking, you only need 1 or 2 ways how to do an arm bar. You just need to be really good at it, right? That's what we call white belt concepts and whatever higher belt level execution. So if you're looking to be a blue belt, if that's your next step, then if you can execute a white belt concept with a blue belt execution, then if you're executing everything at a blue belt level execution, you will get your blue belt. Not that the belt matters to you, but it's just a marker of your success up to that point. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys on this topic. I want to thank you for your patience and hope this video worked out well for you. If it did, please go ahead and like it. And if it really did, please go ahead and share it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, click the bell, and come visit us at one of our studios. Right now we've got 3. KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu Austin in Austin, Texas, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu Dallas-Fort Worth in Flower Mound, Texas, and KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu Irvine. We'd love to see you. And if you want to do like what this person just did, subscribe to our online, KAATAROJiujitsuOnline.com, or you can check us out in the App Store for Apple. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Take care. Happy training. Bye now.